Okay, we're going to look at this GCSE Engineering Isometric Drawing sheet. So for this sheet, we're going to try and draw some 3D views or some isometric views of some objects. So we're looking first of all at task 1. I'm just going to try and zoom into this and we look at task 1. So task 1 is for us to draw these three, we're just copying these three objects onto this grid. So we've got two things here, we've got or three things actually. We've got a dotted grid, we've got a squared grid, and we've got an isometric grid, and we'll look at those for each of these tasks. So the first one with the dotted grid, we've got a cube here to draw, which is 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters. We say these dots are 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters. So we'd start off using a ruler. I'm going to use a fineliner, and if we just draw 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you're drawing the objects, you need to draw them, sort of space them out, because we're going to try and draw them, all three of these, on to this sheet. So I've just started off there, and you can see that I've started off with that kind of Y shape there, and I've drawn 1, 2, 3 dots along. And if we look at that and we look at the finished one, and I think you can see that is the finished one, and there's the three objects that can need to be drawn. So the three objects are there, and we'll start by doing task 1. Once you've completed task 1, you can then move on to task 2. Task 2 is drawing a three-dimensional object using the three views that we did in the previous week. So if you remember last week, we looked at the orthographic view. So here we have an isometric view, and if you look at this 3D kind of cuboid shape here, it has F for front view, S for side view, and P for plan view. And the idea is that we're going to draw these different views on these square grids. So here, if we look at the front view here, now if we're drawing these, we can draw them in two ways. We can either draw them, each of these cubes, as one of these cubes, or we could draw one as each of these cubes 4 cubes. So if we go 2, 4, 6, I'm going to actually draw it I've actually drawn it there as each of these cubes 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. And you can see there is my front view. So looking at from the front there, 1, 2, 3, 1 there, that's the view that I would see. When that's completed, that should look like that. So there's a view there of the three views of that object. Actually, in that view, I've put these lines in, which probably isn't necessary because you wouldn't actually see those. That's task 2. So we've got task 1 and task 2. Now we're going to look at task 3. task 3, it said drawing isometric letters. On the isometric grid provided, draw an isometric view of the letter next to it. First you draw a rectangle around the letter, then you add where the letter touches the rectangle with a bold line, next fill in the isometric shape. So if you look here, has given us a set of instructions. So we're going from the letter F there that we have in 2D, and then we're going to roughly draw our rectangle, add the F outline, then add the 3D part, and then add the full 3D letter. And we're going to do that for each of these letters. So let's have a look at the letter F. So our first stage is to draw an angle there using the isometric grid, and then I've made the letter here 2 wide, and then I've put my isometric F shape onto the grid. Now I've used a fineliner. This grid's quite heavy. What I would suggest you do is use a pencil and a ruler, and then when you're ready, go over that with a ballpoint pen. The next stage is to add these lines back here. So we've got those lines there. We've added those lines there. So we've gone first of all with the letter here, then we've added these lines, then we add our back lines. So we've gone here, and then we're adding these lines here and here for our back edge. And then last of all, we can add colour. So you can see there we've gone from our 2D letter to our 3D isometric letter. So that's completing the isometric letters. So there is the sheet. That's the completed sheet, task 1, task 2 and task 3.